So we can go ahead and get started. I want to thank everybody for attending this webinar, again, titled Social Media Searches for Pre-Employment Purposes. This is a topic that is very, very popular right now. It's a hot button issue with both employers and applicants or subscribers in this case that do social media on a regular basis. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be around for a while, and it actually is a great way of communication. But today's webinar is specifically going to address how employers are using social media specifically to make hiring decisions. So we go ahead and get started. My name is Cody Farzad. For those of you that don't know me, I am the Director of Operations for Employers Choice Online. I've been in this position probably for about 2.5 years now. My main responsibilities is best practice and industry standards pertaining to employment background checks. I'd like to consider myself an expert or somewhat of an expert on the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and that's the federal law that governs what background screening companies can and can't do with regards to employment background checks. And also, we educate clients on state and federal laws regulating consumer reporting agencies, because there are certain states out there that do have their own kind of mini FCRA, if you will. Also, another background on me, I've also been in the public sector working for the County of Orange as a probation officer in the early 2000s, and I received my bachelor's degree from Long Beach State in Criminal Justice. So enough about me. Let's go ahead and get started with the rest of the presentation. We just put our disclaimer up here up front in case anybody is not able to stay throughout the whole presentation. It's, just whatever you see your view on this presentation. It's just legal advice, should not be relied upon as legal advice. Always consult your labor law or employment law attorney with any questions you have that I can't answer. And even if I do answer the question, I'll always let you know, please check that information with your labor law attorney. Okay, so what we'll be discussing today, or what you will be learning today, is what is social media. Basically, the definition, how it's evolved, how people are using it, what it's intended for. Subscribers' intended use, so in this case, in our context, it would be applicants or employees' intended use for using social media. We'll talk about statistics regarding social media. They are pretty shocking, to say the least. We'll also talk about how employers are using social media currently. Talk about, is social media searches compliant with the FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act? And again, that's a federal law that we have to abide by when we conduct employment background checks. So we're going to dive into our social media searches compliant with the FCRA. We'll go into social media privacy settings. These are the settings that users put in place to protect their social media profile. And there has been, news topics in the news, how Facebook and these other social media sites have been revamping and always updating their different privacy settings. And then we'll also talk about violating the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. They do have protected classes, and we'll talk about how social media searches and making employment decisions can potentially violate these protected classes. We'll talk about specific social media case law that is currently out there. We'll talk about implementing a social media usage policy for companies or organizations. And then lastly, we'll talk about tips for protecting your social media image, whether you're an employer doing it for the company or you're a regular subscriber to social media for a personal use. Okay, what is social media? Its definition is use of web-based and mobile technologies to turn communication into an interactive dialogue. Basically, it means using either computers, cell phones, PDAs to communicate with other people that are using the same kind of devices. It's constantly evolving, constantly changing. You may have heard it as social networking, social media, kind of one and the same. Here I've listed the top 4 social media sites. Hopefully these aren't coming as any surprise to any of our attendees, but of course Facebook is the most popular one currently. It has over 700 million users and growing daily. Facebook is used for both personal and professional purposes, posting comments, pictures, invitations, and that's the most popular one right now. Twitter is kind of a text-based social networking site where individuals can just kind of type or text what's on their mind, what they're currently doing. It has over 200 million users. They base theirs on followers, people that follow other people's Twitter account, and that one is constantly growing as well. MySpace is kind of the originator, the pioneer of social media. Their popularity has decreased as the demand for Facebook and Twitter has increased, but still companies and applicants do maintain a MySpace page and are constantly adding information to it. The 4th one is LinkedIn. This is specifically related to businesses. This would be the most professional networking social media site out there, and this is the only one that I actually have an account with, so I do subscribe to LinkedIn, but not these other 4. But not to say that they're bad, it's just I prefer to have one kind of profile, and I have it with LinkedIn. Let's talk about what our subscribers' intended use. What are applicants, what are consumers using social media for? The first one is connecting with other users, finding long-lost friends. I know Facebook capitalized on this and finding that old classmate or that old acquaintance by putting in their name and their location. So a lot of people use social media sites just to connect with other users. Hey, I'm on Facebook. Hey, I'm on Twitter. Why don't you send me a line or send me a picture or post a comment, things like that. So that's kind of the main reason individuals are using social media sites. Post pictures, vacation, family, etc., new things that are going on maybe with the company, if it's a company social media site. Strongly urge individuals not to put too much out there with regards to pictures, and we'll discuss later on that, you know, once something is put out on the internet, it's kind of there permanently. Also posting comments, a day in the life of, any kind of, you know, political, religious statements that they want to make, maybe commenting on a comment that somebody had left, you know, the day before, or commenting on a picture, commenting on something in the news. So it kind of just depends on what the social media site is intended for. If it's business related, maybe announcing things that are coming up, or if it's just a personal, for instance, Facebook page, maybe commenting on, you know, last weekend's Christmas party or things like that. Of course, social networking, business related. A lot of the users use social media just to connect with colleagues, connect with inquiries, connect with potential clients, which, you know, specifically they would use LinkedIn, but that's one of the ways people are using social media. Blogging, online journal, at Employer's Choice Online. It's my responsibility to blog weekly. So if you go to our website and go to our blog tab, you'll see quite a few blogs that I have written on our industry, current legislation, different stories, kind of shocking stories as well. So we do blog, and it's just your thoughts, being able to communicate your thoughts, put it out on the internet, and see what other people may think of it. It's an informal form of communication, pretty self-explanatory, and special invites. So if you have any kind of birthdays, anniversaries, if a company is hosting a special event, then they would use social media to get the word out. Statistics regarding social media, statistics regarding social media for employment use. And these are as current as this year. So these numbers may have changed just a little bit, but it gives you kind of a snapshot, an idea of how popular social media sites are. So currently, 22% of employers report using social media as a hiring tool in 2008. And that's a pretty big number. I mean, that's, almost a quarter of employers are using social media in some sort of way and using it as a hiring tool. In 2011, that has grown to 45%. So it's nearly doubled in 2 years. And 11% of companies said that they will start using it as well. So if you add the 45 and 11%, you have about 56% of companies, more than half, are using social media as a hiring tool. 89% of employers will use social media for recruiting in 2011. So almost every single employer is using social media as a recruiting tool. And that's great. A lot of people are on social media. A lot of people like to explain what they're doing, explain their employment history, their education history. They like to brag about themselves. Some may even embellish or bend the truth as far as their employment or education history. But for recruitment purposes, companies are definitely using them for recruiting. Almost every company is, 90%. 1 of 3 employers will disqualify a candidate based on content of their online profile. And that's kind of why we are here and what we will be discussing in further detail. So almost 33% employees are being disqualified due to the content or due to the information they have on their social media site. 92% of hiring managers will use or plan to recruit via social media. So again, you have almost 100% of employers using social media for recruitment. And there below you see what sites they are using to find potential new hires or applicants. 86% are using LinkedIn, which is the professional business-related social media site. 60% of them are using Facebook, and 50% of them are using Twitter. So applicants, it's a good idea if they're seeking employment to kind of develop or create a LinkedIn page, because as you can see, of the almost 100% of employers that are using social media as a recruiting tool, almost 90% of them are going on to LinkedIn.